Yeah, but I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
The voices are becoming more audible. The frustration is nearing a boiling point. Furthermore, the unimaginable is now being freely debated in sports forums and on social media sites worldwide. Fans of Sophie Cunningham are making it quite evident that they have had enough. They want an organization that seems more focused on controlling narratives than on safeguarding its athletes or permitting open discussion about what's really going on behind closed doors to stop silencing her.
Spoke about the league, but more importantly, she stated she got another fine for actually talking about Paige Beckers. Now, we all ultimately know what happened last time. She had her podcast. She let it be known that Paige Beckers got that blue blood whistle, bro. And make a long story short, she stated the WNBA fined her for that. And she spoke about Bree Hartley. She also talked about Caitlin Clark rehab. But guys, it's unfortunate that she will be out for the remainder.
Fans are calling for Cunningham to continue speaking the truth, saying that if the WNBA would punish players for just expressing their views, then there is a huge problem with this league. The sentiment is catching on like wildfire. Basketball isn't the only thing we're seeing anymore. It concerns a company that has totally forgotten what free speech means, even when it comes from its own workers.
So lads, the WNBA have done it. They have done it. They have officially fined Sophie Cunningham every podcast episode. They have fined her because Sophie Cunningham has been fined. I'm not joking. She's been fined for a TikTok. She's been fined now, I think, for the third time for a podcast. I think Sophie Cunningham might be the all-time leader in fines in the WNBA. So let's take a listen.
The lady who has gained notoriety as the voice of truth in women's basketball, Sophie Cunningham, has spoken out against the systematic effort to subjugate her. Her remarks also expose every flaw in the WNBA's operations. What began as candid criticism on her podcast has escalated into a full-scale battle against openness, and Cunningham is not going to back down.
Not protecting their players. Nobody's going to watch this if you're not protecting your star player. You're not protecting your players, period, but particularly your star players. No one's going to watch this. People are watching it because of Caitlin Clark, and then even more because of Sophie Cunningham. And if you're going to just hang them out to dry, then, good. Nobody's going to watch this anymore because they don't protect their players. It's a worthless organization. They have no idea how to protect their players. But, oh man, they're going to bitch and moan. Well, you better pay us the money. For what? You can't even protect your star players that draw the eyeballs. Now nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch to see the star players sitting out with injuries because of poor treatment and poor officiating on the sides. Nobody's going to.
Subscribe if you're enjoying it. This was another part in the WNBA's long story of trying to control every narrative that originates from inside their organization during what should have been a typical podcast episode about basketball and life. When Sophie Cunningham and Wes Wilson started their podcast, Show Me Something, they anticipated candid discussions about the league in which they play. Rather, she learned that there is a high cost associated with speaking truth to power.
She has turned herself into a top 5 most talked about player in the WNBA. And can I tell you, I am loving the clips that are coming out of this podcast. There's just so much fascinating elements of her that make her this really alpha, really strong, but really beautiful, spicy villain. And I think she kind of likes being the villain.
Cunningham said, "I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA," on her most recent podcast. She spoke with the annoyance of someone who has seen a company put control before integrity. My remarks about Paige booers were not well received by them. I didn't say anything negative at all. However, something strange occurred this time. Sophie Cunningham made the decision, this time, that penalties that seemed to be intended more for intimidation than for correction would not be enough to silence her. She has been hit with financial fines for every podcast episode, which would make any sane person wonder whether there is any room for honest conversation in the WNBA today.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle, on the quick whistle.
Yeah. But like, why? Like,
If we want to talk about Paige, here's a good question.
They fined her for saying Paige Beckers has a good whistle. Like, I kid you not, that is one of the craziest reasons I've seen a player get fined.
The subsequent events were unparalleled in the history of the WNBA. Fans rallied behind Cunningham within days after her disclosures of the league's exquisite structure, not just as a player, but also as someone who was prepared to tell the truth no matter the cost. Support erupted on social media, with followers referring to her as the truth teller and urging the WNBA to cease stifling opinions that didn't align with their own.
Something seriously wrong with how the W enforces their rules. And I know there's already been a big emphasis on referee inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, the quality of referees is on the WNBA too. Because again, I have no idea where the line is. Because on one hand, I kind of get it. It's normal for a league to fine you if you're going to talk bad about the league or the players in the league. Because that happens all the time in the NBA, NFL, and so on. But on the other hand, why does the league not care about its image when players are standing over and cursing out their opponents on the court? Like, where was the enforcement here? Or where was it here? Or where was it when the whole entire league was bullying your star player? And this stuff is happening all the time in the WNBA, but why is it only called on occasion? Which is why finding Sophie Cunningham every time she has a podcast seems kind of crazy, because the WNBA obviously chooses when and when not to enforce the rule.
This is the reason the Cunningham situation is so concerning. She won't be penalized for making any untrue or provocative statements. She is being punished for making simple observations that any sane observer may have regarding league operations and officiating uniformity. In essence, the WNBA has established a system in which criticism of their product, regardless of its veracity or meaning, is penalized financially. The data clearly shows that this effort against Cunningham was methodical. She received a $500 punishment for a TikTok in which she mentioned referees while lip-syncing the lyrics. For remarks she made about officiating consistency in her first podcast episode, she was fined $1,500. For just pointing out that referees seemed to favor Dallas Wings youngster Paige Boers, she most recently earned another undisclosed punishment.
Do they, when you get fined, do they put like verbatim, like quote here, like this is why you're being fined and that's why it's this much? Or is it like, hey, quit talking shit on us, Venmo us like $1,500?
what happens is they email our GM, and she pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this was in like front of everybody. And I was like, "What did I do now?" And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're gonna fine you again." They're like, I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that, and I said that I would be good at it. I did say that. Like, look at the whole picture. What are we doing?
Let's face it, though, what we're really talking about here. Even Rebecca Lobo has admitted that there are serious problems with the way games are officiated. However, a current player risks direct financial repercussions when she expresses similar concerns. This is the horrifying truth that Sophie Cunningham's medical care has exposed. Players are scared to talk openly about their own league because of the atmosphere the WNBA has created.
Cunningham tweeted about getting fined, basically saying that she thinks it's laughable and that the league probably has bigger issues they should be focusing on. Now, WNBA officiating has faced major scrutiny all season long from some of the league's biggest stars and coaches. You can find a ton of articles about it online where they're all calling for more consistency. One of the more quotable examples came from Angel Reese after the Chicago Sky lost to the Minnesota Lynx on July 6th. Reese said that the officiating has to be fixed. She said, "I don't give a you-know-what if I get fined because that stuff is cheap and I'm tired of this stuff." You get the point. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert addressed the officiating ahead of the All-Star game last weekend. She said that it is something that the league is continuing to work on and that they are on it. Engelbert mentioned that
Cunningham said on her podcast that she is well aware of the league's objectives. This athlete did not find himself embroiled in scandal. This is someone who has deliberately chosen to put openness ahead of financial security. We can learn a lot about the public's demand for integrity in professional sports from the fans' response to the WNBA's handling of Cunningham. Comments such as, "I detest the WNBA at times," and "this league is so effed up." Sophie never stops pointing out their foolishness. As word of her most recent fine circulated, social media was inundated.
She'll happily pay those fines. I think they're only fining like $200 or something. It's something crazy. Like Sophie Cunningham is making millions this year. Players don't get fined for speaking on one another, but every single player in history of pro basketball has criticised officiating and been fined for it. No, she keeps doing the same thing, getting fined for it. She literally said Paige is a good whistle. That is what she said. She said Paige, the Paige fans, my God, Paige fans are fucking nut jobs.
Let's discuss the WNBA's business strategy and how very foolish it is. With her enormous social media followings and material that really engages fans, Sophie Cunningham has emerged as one of the most captivating figures in women's basketball. For WNBA fans who are eager to hear real viewpoints from within the league, her podcast has become a must-listen. It's the increasing awareness that the WNBA has created a culture of fear surrounding open communication. According to a number of sources, other players are as worried about officiating in league operations as Cunningham is, but they are reluctant to voice their opinions in public because they have seen the consequences of doing so.
She literally, when I tell you, y'all, I literally feel like they are just coming for her because I feel like she should be able to say what she wants to say on her podcast. But that's just me. That's just how I feel. Then they came and then it came an earlier $500 penalty. I guess for a TikTok video, she was mocking the referees and lip singing. That was funny. So now I got a question for y'all. Do you think that she should be able to say what she wants on her own podcast? Or do you feel like, she should just shut it down and, stop bothering them with all this?
They have already shown that they will follow her if she provides them with real substance and frank analysis of the league they like. If she continues to get penalties, it is not a matter of whether they will still support her. The WNBA's attempt to stifle their most genuine voice raises the issue of whether they can withstand the harm to their reputation.
Traction that episode was getting, folks were saying that she could pay that off just from her YouTube monetization. And so this is just interesting because I've said before that I really wish the WNBA as well as other sports leagues would lean in to the athlete-owned media platforms because fans are a lot more interested in hearing the perspective of people who actually play the sport than just spectators and people on the outside. So the fact that they are penalizing her for showcasing her frustrations, even though tons of players have done this, post-game interviews or just talked about it on the internet in general, is very interesting.
The WNBA's effort to silence Sophie Cunningham is quickly coming to a tipping point where everything might go horribly wrong. They have a wealth of real material from athletes who are more knowledgeable about their subject than any league office employee.
So the entire league can talk shit about Caitlin, but Sophie can't talk shit to Paige. No. And that's the funniest thing is that Angel Reese can say some people have a special whistle about Caitlin Clark in a public press conference. And it's selective fining. That's the problem. Like, Kelsey Plum has not been fined this year, and Kelsey Plum has literally just stopped entire press conferences playing with the referees. Apparently, Stephanie White didn't get fined when Marina Mabry knocked Caitlin on her ass, and then Sophie Cunningham took down JC Sheldon. Apparently, Stephanie White didn't get, and Mazian did not get fined for both of them going mad at her.
Even if she is being fined repeatedly for making simple observations, there is a limit to the amount of money that someone should be forced to pay for just informing their audience about what they are really seeing and feeling. WNBA fans now have something they didn't realize they were lacking thanks to Sophie Cunningham, a player who is prepared to speak honestly about what she observes, even if doing so has financial repercussions. However, structural issues cannot be resolved by the most committed truth teller alone.
Only is going to push her even more to share her perspectives and share her point of view. And that's going to get her some partnerships. That's going to get her business opportunities because, again, nobody really knows what these players go through unless you're in their position. Unless you're in that position. For those who don't know, she plays for the Indiana Fever. But I love that she is voicing her concerns. I think the only way for change to happen is for you to vocalize what needs to be changed and to have it at the forefront. And she just may be the person to help further push these types of conversations ahead. So listen, let's all support Sophia, watch the first episode. And I'm excited to see what else she's talking about because this...
A genuine voice from inside the league, interesting material that piques fans' curiosity, and commentary that sparks insightful debate about their offering. Their decision reveals a lot about their priorities, and supporters are paying close attention to what those priorities seem to be.